Okay, so thank you for joining us on this beautiful afternoon. My name is Chad Moyton. I'm from Monmouth Cares, and I'll be the host for today's session titled Planning for Transition, Why It is Vital to Your Student's Future. And our panelist for today is Jerisa Maseko from the ARC of New Jersey. A couple quick housekeeping items before we get started. If you're with an organization or you want to change your name at all in the participants section, it just lets us have a better idea of who's with us today. In this format, all participants are muted by default. If you'd like to communicate with myself or the panelists, please use the Q&A feature located at the bottom of your screen. Questions will be answered at the conclusion of the presentation. A recording of this presentation and all presentations from today will be available on the website where you want to register, www.njyouthtransition.life. This session also is being closed captioned. In order to activate closed caption feature, please click on the live transcript button on the bottom of your screen and click show subtitle. If you need technology support at any point during the conference, you can access our live tech Zoom support room sponsored by Richard West ATAC. The Zoom room link is available on our website on the conference agenda page. Please be patient as there may be many people seeking help at the same time. If you have any difficulties now, we recommend first checking your sound and try signing out and signing back in, as this may fix common issues. And please note that we have a hard stop at 5 minutes to next hour, so 1:55, in order for us to host the next presentation. And with that, I'll hand it over to Jerisa. Sorry.
No worries. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you all for coming on a Saturday to listen to me talk. I appreciate it, and I don't take advantage of the fact that we're taking your time. So let's get into this presentation. We are from the Planning for Adult Life program at the ARC of New Jersey. As he stated, we are a program that has been in existence for 9 years. What we have tried to do is that when a lot of things happened in 2013 with the service delivery system of DDD, or the Division of Developmental Disabilities, took place, we are an advocacy, information, and referral type of agency. And because of that, we sprung into action to advocate for families throughout these changes. And as a result, we've created this program to help families kind of navigate through the whole aging out and into the adult life, as well as getting connected with services and supports for families of individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. My objective today is to talk about transition planning, why it's important, help you create a plan, as well as discuss some areas in that plan and give you some resources and briefly give you a description of planning for adult life. When we talk about transition planning, it starts right here. I hope that you have seen this booklet. It's called the Prize Book. It's the Parental Rights in Special Education. It is on the board of at the New Jersey Board of Education's website. It's in 6 different languages that you can download as a PDF. This is a very important starting place of when we're talking about transition planning, because it discusses your rights and responsibilities as a parent and the rights and responsibilities as the school is obligated to provide for your child because they have qualified for a special education. So New Jersey defines transition as a coordinated set of activities for a student designed within an outcome-oriented process that promotes movement from school to post-school activities. Don't worry, I'm not going to read you all of my slides. I quoted that directly from the book, and that's why I wanted to be right on word for word. When we're talking about transition services, they need to provide your child with some type of post-secondary education, meaning college, vocational training, any type of employment that is available, even connecting you with adult education and adult services, independent living, and community participation. All of this should be wrapped in to your child's special education because that's what they've qualified for, and that is according to your rights. And so what does that look like as we're going into your child's education from the age of 14 to the age of 21? And I'll give you more information about that. But why I want to address now, why is transition planning important? So as I mentioned, all students classified under an the IDEA are entitled to receive special education and related services. The school acts as the single service delivery system to make sure that your child's education is laid out for them, that the path is created, or at least a map has created for your child's special education. And throughout that map, it allows you, while you're having IEP sessions, to place different spots, if you will, on your map in order for your child to venture and experience those things so that when they are in the adult life, that they can have a more successful life. You are entitled if your child needs speech therapy, if they need if they need physical therapy, if they need OT, the school is the one that arranges for all of these things to take place and to happen. Once you move over into the adult service system, understand that there is no single delivery system in which your child will then receive services. It becomes a different door that you need to knock on, and yes, you, because there's no case manager now. You have become the case manager for your child, that they will go through the path of going through services, accessing services. And so understand that it's very important that we create that map while they're in high school, so that when they get into the adult system, you will have at least some direction, some type of plan in order for your child to access services in the adult system, okay? Computer wants to go wonky here. Sorry about that. Are you serious? Okay. I'm not really sure what happened. I apologize. Okay. As I was saying, it becomes a whole new world in the adult service system. Each point, it becomes a new door in which you will have to knock on. So if your child needs employment, they will either find employment on their own through looking through people or talking to people that they know, applying, or they can access services through DVR services, and I'll talk about them later on. DVR is Division of Vocational Rehabilitation Services. They assist with employment support. Or if your child needs post-secondary education, you will need to speak with the Office of Disability Services. That might be at the college or university that your child accesses. If they need housing, there's a different door you now need to knock on. Also, if they need transportation, a lot of different agencies don't provide don't provide transportation in the adult system. Therefore, you'll have to make arrangements for the transportation. And as you can see, each thing that your child will want to participate in that are provided in the school system free of charge now becomes a different door that you as the parent or guardian on. So it's important that you know this information, that you find out what services are available. Even now, some of the things that are available to your child as early as 14, because that is when transition begins. And you want to find out what those services are, including Social Security. It starts at 18. There are different travel programs that start at 14. Those are things that you can access now and to get your child acclimated into receiving those services. And so the first question when we're talking about transition planning or planning for transition, creating that plan, you want to ask your child, what do you want to do after leaving school? Each answer is going to be unique, and you want to make sure that your child's plan is self-directed, meaning that they are the ones that are the drivers, right? Right. They are the ones that are driving this, and it's person-centered. I wanted my daughter to be a lawyer, but she did not want to be a doctor and a neonatologist when you were younger. And so why don't you take medical pre-med classes in high school and in college? And she said, no, I don't want to be a doctor anymore. I'd like to stay in sports. And so we said, okay, let's look at all of the jobs that are in sports that you might be interested in. And we went through the whole process of having the conversation. What does it look like? What things do you like about this? Are you going to be able to have a living wage with it? And all of that. And so that conversation at our kitchen table was an important thing that started her on the process of helping her know, also setting expectation that she needs to be a part of the planning process. And then we were able to sit down and to make a plan for how she was going to go through school. I challenge you to do the same thing. If your child is over 14, even though transition, there should be a statement in the IEP around transition, that's fine. Your child is still in school. So we still can work on what their life is going to look like and set the expectation for what their life is going to look like in school. As I mentioned, it needs to be person-centered. It has to be what she's going or your child's going to be invested in. And I forced her to be a lawyer, I probably would have wasted, well, there's no probably, I would have wasted my money because it was not something that she had any buy-in. It was something that I wanted her to do because I felt, hey, you might as well be a lawyer since you have no problem arguing with me. But it was not something that she wanted to be and invest her time and energy in. Understand that this is a new generation, and they are going to want to explore and to do things a lot quicker and than my generation would. And so you want to make sure that they're invested in whatever their choices are going to be. Also, you want to get together a team. Now, this is separate from your child study team. You want a board of directors for your child, a board of directors that can direct the future years of your child. These are people that your child listens to. That these are people that they actually quote sometime or joke about or laugh at their jokes. You want to get a team, you want to get information, you want to get a plan, get going and get feedback. And I'll go through these individually, okay? So again, when you're talking about your team, this is all in preparation for helping your child create a plan. This is separate from your child study team. This is separate from your IEP team or whatever the school personnel may be called that works with your child. This, like I said, is a board of directors that will give input, that act as allies for your child. And you can bring those other people on. You can bring this child study team on. You can bring state agencies on to give you information, even community persons in your community, your the pastors or leaders of your houses of worship, you college information, mentors, different people. You can add them to your team so that you can think about and direct the success of your child in the adult life. And so you want to think about who it is. And I know it's hard for parents because I've been in this profession for over 25 years. I'm also a family member. And sometimes we think blood is thicker than water. And so we don't look around and see who those individuals might be. But it's very important for you to do that because you'll see that a lot of people love your student and a lot of people are interested in your student's future and will be able to dedicate time to help your individual in the future. I personally have sat as a team member for individual, his name is Danny, and Danny is not the same ethnicity I am. He wasn't born in the same state I am. He didn't live in the same city I am, but I was able to contribute to his adult life more than his parents were actually, because his parents lived far away. So understand, and my whole point is just to look around, people at the bodega or the corner store, or individuals that that they meet every day, neighbors, the mailman. Those are individuals that interact with your child, and you don't want to discount them and the contribution that they can make just because they're not blood. I'll get off my soapbox now and keep going. But I wanted to just drive home that point. Also, I want to make sure that I drive home the point that it's important for your child to participate in this process, whether they're verbal, whether they are hard choices or can't make that many choices, you still want to include them in the process. Benjamin Franklin is credited by saying, "Tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn." Involve me and I learn. It's the best way that they understand or will get over and over that these people are invested in me and that I am important to the individuals around the circle. As I said, I've been in this profession of working with people with IDD for over 25 years. And I was able to sit on a team where there was an individual, his name was Matthew. Matthew used a wheelchair. He also had a communication tray on his wheelchair, and it said yes on one side and no on that side. Matthew was nonverbal, and those were the only two words that we could get him to consistently use as communication. Also, while we were planning for Matthew's adult life while we were in school, we started thinking about, what does Matthew want? Because he was nonverbal, he couldn't tell us in words, but Matthew has his own language. Every time that Matthew saw a cow or a horse or animals, Matthew would sit up straight, his eyes would get big, and his mouth would go into a concentrated, ooh, no noise, but you could see that was Matthew's language. And we began to pay attention to what Matthew was saying, both non-verbally, as well as him using his yes and no. And so as we were planning for his adult life, we made sure that there were times where Matthew would go once a week to a farm, and his worker support workers would make sure that he took a trip to the farm, and so that he could see animals. And those horses saw that blonde-haired, blue-eyed boy with a chair with wheels coming upon the gate, and they would make their way over because they knew that there was something sweet and orange on his tray. And so they would come and they would eat the carrots off of the tray. And as they were eating the carrots, Matthew would sit up straight. His eyes would get big and his mouth would. And we knew that Matthew had told us and we had listened to things that he wanted to participate in, even in his adult life. And so those are things we want to make sure that you're listening to what your child is saying, both verbally and non-verbally. As you're thinking of your team, you want to think of any and everybody that's there, both paid staff, non-paid staff, volunteer staff, community leaders. Don't leave anyone off of the docket to see if they could be a part of your team. This is a quick screenshot of the DDD's person-centered planning tool. And what you can do is you can download it from DDD's website, and it just gives you an idea of what kind of things that you can use as people that you can ask to be on your team. Okay, I'm spending a lot of time on really emphasizing the team because this will be your support system, and it's important that you develop those relationships even as your child is in high school. After you get a team, I want you to go to the dollar store. I want you to get a 3-ring binder. I want you to get the dividers. And this is the things that I want you to make titles. I'm going to go through these each one, but I want you to make sure that you're thinking of these different topics. I gave you 7. You probably can think of more, but here's 7 of them that you can use, or core areas for planning. Okay. So after you do that, you want to think about, okay, what about employment? What kind of job are they going to have? There's agencies that their sole responsibility is to help an individual with disabilities to gain and maintain employment. That's their sole responsibility. They have that charge. And so we need to find out what information through the school can we get connected with them now so that they will be ready for when they're an adult. That program is called the Pre-Employment Training Services, or PREEX. That's through DVR, or the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation Services. It is available free to your school. You could get connected to it. They have, I believe, about 25 hours of training that they have available for any student, no matter what their level of understanding is. If they want to obtain employment, it is free to your student, and you can work with your child study team to have this happen and them to gain those skills while they're in high school. You don't have to wait until afterwards. You can do this now. And this is in addition to what your school is already have planned. Your school didn't know the information. We're empowering you with the information so that you can move forward. Look and ask through your guidance program, not only the special needs teams that do the IEPs, you also want to look through your guidance office. Look and see if there's vocational trainings, employment, all kinds of apprenticeships or volunteer opportunities. This builds skills and builds your child's resume so that it makes them more employable. We want them to be competitive in competitive employment. We want them to have a living wage with insurance, my goodness. And so we want to build as many skills as we can while they're in school so that they can compete with typical developing individuals. And this is paid for through a program or a philosophy really is called employment first. New Jersey is an employment first state. And what it says is that competitive employment in the general workforce is the first and preferred post-educational outcome for people with any type of disability. And so you want to start speaking the language to your school, to your child's study team, and to your child so that they will understand their rights and that they will be able to advocate when you're no longer able to take care of them. And that's really what we're talking about here. We want to get them built up in skills so that when you're no longer able to take care of your child, that they will be empowered with the information so that they can advocate on their own. Also, you want post-secondary education. What certificates are out there? Every junior, not junior, it's called every county school here. I'm originally from Indiana, so excuse the terms, switch time sometimes. But every county school here is every credit earned through the county schools, post-secondary schools, can transfer to a four-year school. Why don't have them in a smaller classroom to learn learn the different classes that they need to take, their general requirements and core requirements, and then transfer to the four-year school if they want to do that as well. But get them a good start with lower, like I said, lower classrooms, smaller classrooms, and teachers that can take more time with your student. You also want to get information. You want to have a conversation about housing. What kind of housing are you interested in living in? Will you need a roommate? How much money will you be able to make? These are conversations that you can, again, have at the kitchen table. And you can have a conversation of, well, what, where will, if you live here, how will you get to this? And how will you connect with your friend? How are you going to go shopping? I, again, am not from here. I was originally from Indiana. And when I moved to New Jersey, my husband had a townhouse in Newark, New Jersey. Newark, New Jersey is the largest city in New Jersey, yet at that time, they did not have a full-fledged grocery store in the whole city. I literally had to go in the car, go across the bridge, and go to a different town to go grocery shopping. And I was so surprised when I got here, I had to do that. But as a part of that, I had to learn the different things, which streets, which highways that I need to take in order to get there. Does your child know how to get to the barber? Does your child know how to get to the grocery store? And when they're in the grocery store, do they know how to find their favorite peanut butter or their favorite snack? Have you given them the opportunity to go through the aisle kind of on their own to find where those things are, to set a budget, to handle picking off things from the list of shopping items that they will need? This is all good preparation for when your child becomes an adult. And even though it's in the housing section, it's all about living. It's all about living. I had a child tell me that he wanted to live in a place with an elevator. And so we had a conversation of where do you find elevators? Where would you access elevators when it comes to housing? And he said a mansion. I said, okay. Where there's also condos and apartments that have elevators as well. And so we had that conversation, and it started him thinking, the wheels were turning about what he was going to do as a part of his adult life. You also want to have a conversation about legal and financial decisions. There's a lot of different information out there where you can do financial literacy programs. You can help them talk about income, a savings account, different things like that, checking account, all of those things. Don't leave it up to the professionals. Don't leave it up to the school to teach your child about it. You also need to know that there are some legal things that go on. No matter what your child's disability, what level of understanding they may have, the government sees your child as an adult at the age of 18. And so they're the age of majority. And with that comes rights and responsibilities. And you need to have a conversation about guardianship of whether or not that is there. There's no cookie cutter answer when it comes to guardianship. Or if there's several different alternatives to guardianship. So you want to have a conversation about that. Also, as I mentioned, at the age of 18, your child is eligible to apply for SSI and Medicaid. SSI and Medicaid is separate from your private health insurance. So you want to find out information about SSI and Medicaid. And I'll stop here really quickly and say that we do have presentations on our website about SSI and Medicaid and all of these things that I'm mentioning. We've broken it down into kind of digestible pieces, if you will. And you can go onto the Planning for Adult Life website and you can view those archived webinars, archived videos of the different things and understand. You'll also be able to learn there that it's important for your child to have monies that may be in their Social Security number to move to special accounts. One is a special needs trust, the other is an ABLE account. We have information about all of those things. You can access that information again on the website, and you can know what all and make decisions and compare and contrast the different things that you'll need to know. Also, we want you legally, you need to have a state picture ID. You can also use your child's passport picture, but it's important at the age of 18 because the orientation is different. At the age of 18, you need to get them a picture ID. These are legal and financial things that you need to keep on your list so that you can be ready. You also want to think about being social. How are we going to keep our child social? NBC did an article on a news report on 2 students in New York City. And what they did is they followed two individuals due to some health concerns. When they did that, they followed them a year later. The one that had a plan had actually kept up being social with some of the friends at school, had made new friends, was employed, different things like that. The one that did not have a plan had actually lost verbal skills because they were sitting at home on the couch for most of the time because of the health things. And so we have to be intentional about what are we going to do about making sure that they are social, our students are social, and that they are creating and maintaining relationships. And there's lots of areas that you can have your child to be the volunteer or to participate in. And I understand that there's COVID, but there's different things that are available for your child to think about. We even found that one group of young ladies actually now are part of a walking club because they were walking trails and they noticed that the same people were going along the trail, and they went from hello to, oh, I'm so glad the sun is out, to finding out that after this group of people walked the trail, they went to Panera for some green tea. Those are things that you don't hear advertisements. There's no flyers, but it's just people getting together. Use social media even to connect with different things, and try to make sure that we are getting out there in a lot of different and new ways of connecting with people. We have to be intentional about keeping our child, our student, social as well. You also want to have a conversation. This is another section in your book about moving from a pediatrician to an adult medical provider. That is a huge change for a lot of students, a lot of individuals, even without disabilities. And so you want to start empowering them when they go to the doctor. Tommy, we're going to the doctor. Is there anything that you would like to talk to the doctor about? I want to show them my new pet gorilla. I said, okay, that's fine. What else would you like to talk to the doctor about? My tummy. What about your tummy? My tummy hurts. Okay, is there any questions that you want to ask the doctor about your tummy and why it hurts? I want him to stop. I want it to stop. Okay, we can talk about that. We can make sure. And making sure that the adult medical provider is talking to Tommy as opposed to talking to you is an important step of empowering your child and getting them used to being able to talk about themselves and all of that. Understand that you need to have insurance and Medicaid. Mom gave me a call a couple of years ago, and she said, I wanted you to know that if anything happens to me and your father, that the important papers. And I interrupted her there, and I was like, Mom, I don't want to have this conversation. She was like, yes, you need to have this conversation, because if anything happens to me and your father, you need to know that the important papers are in the jewelry box, the white jewelry box under the dresser. And so we had that conversation. Having those conversations are not easy, but remember, you are empowering your child for when they become an adult. And so you want to empower them with information. They don't have to understand it. I don't understand all of the insurances and different things like that. But what I know is that I know that the important papers are in the white jewelry box under the dresser. And when I access them, God forbid, anytime soon, if I have to access them, I can go straight to them and then find individuals that can help me with those papers. So you want to have a plan. What happens if something happens to mommy and daddy? What are you going to do? Let's talk about it. And let's create a plan so that they can practice that and become more familiar with that information. And so then it's not so startling if something happens. You also want to know about what the state agencies that are out there for you. You want to find out what agencies that can help. The Division of Developmental Disabilities are an agency that is charged with providing care for people throughout New Jersey. Each state in the union has some type of, they might be by a different name, but they have a Division of Developmental Disabilities that helps you with all of this information. Understand that if you access services in New Jersey and you decide to become a snowbird and you go to Florida, you start the process all over again. Understand that. That's really important for parents that are thinking about these things to know. Also, there's the Division of Disability Services. They're kind of like the yellow pages of all disability services. If you go onto their website, you can download their 80 or so page guide to each service that actually serves people with disabilities through the different counties of New Jersey. Then there's the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation Services. I mentioned them before. They are charged with helping people with disabilities find and maintain employment, meaning that even if your child gets the first job and they are it doesn't work out, you can go back to them. Don't close the case. Continue to have the case manager for DVR to work with your child until you find something that works for your student. Also, the Commission for Blind and Visually Impaired. This is another agency that is kind of the sister agency for DVRS, and they specialize in helping individuals who are blind and visually impaired. The adult service system can offer several different things to help with your child in the adult system, but understand that some of these services cannot be accessed to the age of 21. That's why you want to maximize your child's high school education. Your child with a special education can go from 14 all the way up to 21 for transition. Once they finish their core classes, it doesn't have to look like everybody else's classes. It can look differently, and it's individualized program. It's an individualized program. And so you can have them help you to access and create what your child's day is going to look like after they finish their core classes, okay? Also, understand that the adult system can provide respite. That's a time where, the parents can do whatever they want to do. And there will be a trained professional that can work with your child while that time of respite is there. That is for parents to access. Even now, you can access respite and give you a break. And don't feel bad about needing or wanting to take a break from caregiving. It's a very specialized group that you are in as parents and caregivers and loved ones of a person with a disability. And so if those services are out there, it's not a handout, it is help. And so you want to access those type of things. But understand there are some things that you can access now and some things that will not be accessible until the age of 21. And even then, you have to have either SSI or Medicaid. Well, Medicaid is really the golden ticket to access those. So you want to find out that information. What is available? What does your child qualify for so that they can be ready? You can be ready for when that school bus stops from taking them to school. You want to get information about community resources that are out there. There are all kinds of organizations that are out there that are that have programs, that have individuals that are used to providing support for people with disabilities. Although we may not know some of those, but these are there's examples of natural supports that are out there that can help your families. One-stop centers, NJ Wins, helps individuals who are receiving services and have jobs to maintain their eligibility. There are centers for independent living that are there. They have all kinds of activities throughout the counties that can help. There's TANF, which provides nutrition support for individuals who are lower incomes, and they can qualify and receive that assistance for that. The Housing Authority has vouchers for individuals with disabilities that are separate from those that are families that are low income. They have specific vouchers for housing for people with disabilities, and it pays 70% of the fair market value for a house, for an apartment. There's the Community Health Law Project, all of those things. And if you notice and look at all these titles, they won't say disability. Some of them may, but they won't say disability in the title. If we have our disability blinders on, this is what we'll see. This is what we'll see. We'll just see that and we'll think there's nothing out there to help us, as opposed to seeing the reality is that there's a lot of things out there to help us. And so we want to make sure that we're leaving no stone unturned to get access to information. So I told you to get a team. I told you to get information. Now put it all together in a plan. This is an example of Gabby's binder that we provide these to our students that we work with individually with the schools, and all of her information, all of the things, including the blueberry with an X in it that lets people know that she does not like blueberries. Those are things that you want to communicate and put in their binder. There's information of here is examples of your IEP. This is kind of the generic IEP for the state. And there's information of where transition starts at the age of 14. When you're talking to your IEP team, to have goals written, to talk about what kind of things are available there, okay, in the school system. Then you want to get going. So get a team, get information, get a plan, get going in the community. Let them experience the community. And lastly, you want to get feedback. Evaluate the progress of your child. If it's working, then good. But if it's not working, let's level set, let's rethink how we're going to get this done and talk about it and put the steps in place that we can, again, try to get these goals and skills done. Really quickly, I know I have 2 minutes. Planning for Adult Life is paid for by the New Jersey Division of Developmental Disabilities to help families to get through all of this planning. We do not charge any families. What we try to do is we work with the schools. We've worked with schools all 8 of our 8 years to provide what is called MAPS clubs, where we have conversations about those things. That's our pretend kitchen table, where we talk and we talk to students about what their dreams are, what their plans for adult life are. And we've been able to work even through the pandemic to offer those virtually to the school as well. Then you can go on, if your school is not contracted with us, you can go onto our website and you can download our plans guide and participate in our online activity room, where we have put videos and a guide where you can have your own kitchen table talk with your student and write out goals and different things like that. So we've equipped you with that as well. We also provide workshops. You can go onto our website and our event calendar. We have, again, these workshops into digestible pieces so that parents can ask questions as well as that. I'll skip through this. We did have conferences because of COVID. We're suspending that. Here's a picture of our website. We have a help desk. I want to bring attention. If you notice, it says we offer. If you pull that tab down, it'll say archive videos. That's where all the videos are, as well as our help desk. You can ask questions. You can also sign up for our e-newsletter that comes out once a month. We have webinar Wednesdays, which is the 3rd Wednesday of the month, and you can sign up for those. Again, all of these are free to you. Here's my team. And the takeaways today is that transition planning starts early. Transition planning is important. It requires you to be intentional. You need to check your community for resources. Do not just look for things for special needs or disabilities. There's a lot of agencies out there that you can access. And I'll take questions if I still have time.
Yes, absolutely. We've got about 5 minutes left. Unfortunately, I am frozen on my end. So if you're able to click the Q&A, I know there was at least one question from early on.
Sure. Excuse me.
From Sonia, and her question was, where can we find out about the minimum educational requirements for a person with disabilities to go to college in New Jersey?
So the minimal, there are none. Unfortunately, fortunately, I'll say that each university is required to have an Office of Disability Services. The unfortunate piece of that is that not all, there's no standard of what each university will do or will provide. And so, as with typical developing students accessing college, You want to talk to the Office of Disability Service. You want to find out what they provide. There's because there's no standard. So you're interviewing them as well to find out what they are providing. And some of the schools here in New Jersey provide a lot of information, a lot of different programs. It's at an additional cost to the student. And then there's some that provide a lot of information that are not at a additional cost. So again, if your child is interested in one of the universities, you want to interview them just like you would interview my child. We went to so many colleges to explore what kind of things they offered. And so that's part of the homework, or that's part of the job of the team that you're assembling to find out what that information and what they do. I also see another question about how do you identify the right college post-secondary opportunities to go after? You go to Think College, thinkcollege.net. Thinkcollege.net is the technical assistance website for all colleges that work with students with developmental disabilities. Thinkcollege.net. And excuse me, if you go there, you can see all of the information. It's a really great website for parents or for students as well. They have student videos as well that can help with helping you to kind of decide what post-secondary education is going to look like. It's again, thinkcollege.net. And I believe that's our time.
Yes, thank you. I'm trying to remember, I saw it, I get a lot of emails. There were also virtual tours offered. I don't know if it was the ARC or maybe the New Jersey Council of Developmental Disabilities, but as you're talking about networks and things, that's one of the things to get connected to, because sometimes those opportunities present themselves for those virtual tours to kind of have that interaction and ask those questions.
Right. If you go onto the ARC of New Jersey's website, because I'm grant funded through the state funds, I cannot promote different colleges, but we do have the Family Institute as a part of our programs at the ARC of New Jersey. And if you go onto the ARC of New Jersey website, they are doing tours for the, I believe it's 6, there might be 7 or 8. They're developing, a couple of programs are still in the development stages, but at the minimum 6 different colleges, universities that are here in New Jersey that you can either take a physical tour pre-COVID and virtual tours now, and you can sign up for those. Again, all of that is free for your student. Thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for everybody's time today. A beautiful day. I specifically would just want to thank Jerisa. I think from a systems perspective, it's important we meet the caregivers and families on the times that meet for them. So I appreciate you investing your time that way today, this Saturday. And if anybody, that's going to be the end of our presentation unless there's any questions. But if there are none, please be sure to check out the rest of the New Jersey Transition Conference, the web page, www.njutransition.life. We'll have recordings of all the sessions in case you couldn't make it to the ones you want, and that'll be posted to the web page where you registered at. That register button will turn into the access portal for the recordings as well as any handouts. So if there's no other questions, I just want to thank everybody again and have a lovely weekend.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.